show.
And
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
where it's just
much
like, how much Sabrina the Teenage
prefer
Witch can you
afford.
my messy altar with like catnip all over the place and like a candle's half hanging off because the cats knock it over. That is, I think, a glimpse into what it looks like to be a witch in the modern world.
I would have to say that's pretty accurate. Is like, as much fun as it is to have a formal religion and have everything very ritualized, it's like, who has time? You know,
Right.
who has time? You want to get into your magic and get out.
It's unrealistic.
How are my teeth, by the way?
Perfect.
Wonderful.
get into your magic and get out.
Yeah. Get into your magic and go. You know, sometimes that's how it is. It's
Do
all
the
about
ritual, get
yeah.
it done, set your intentions, and then carry on with the rest of your day.
And sometimes even using words like ritual is too formal for some people. They're like, I'm sorry, ritual sounds a lot like church. I don't want to do that.
Right.
And like, I get that. And that's why a lot of people, I mean, I was reading on a source of unverifiable strength that people are leaving Christianity for just witchcraft in general, spirituality, paganism. It's such a loose term, and I think it's because it can be so, you can personalize it, that it makes it so attractive.
And it's not as rigid or even like scary as church.
Yeah, because church is kind of scary.
Church is scary, man.
Yeah, they
I
be talking
really
about Jesus
do.
like being tortured and dying and stuff, and like that's terrifying.
Yeah, being like a young child, you already don't want to be there. You get one weekend, 2 days off a week, and your mom's dragging you to church. Sorry,
Like,
Mom.
I don't
want to
wear a tie. I just want to lay in my bed and play Pokemon.
Yes, I like, this is my day off too, and now I'm in church being told I'm in deep shit if I fuck up in the slightest. And I really do think that attributed to a great deal of my anxiety as a preteen. I had a lot of internal conflict with religion and faith and spirituality, what I believed it was at that time. So I think we've started recording.
No doubt. This always happens to us.
We got into
Where we just
some
start talking.
Oh, yeah.
really good stuff out the gate. Welcome back to another episode of Renaissance
We're
Broads.
so happy to be here.
It's been too long, not by any fault of our own. As our listeners and followers have seen on the Instagram, it's been a rough couple of weeks for the broads. I was blessed with a disgusting upper respiratory infection that was not COVID, and poor Carolyn
I had the Rona. I
had
got COVID. Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's
we were.
common for everyone.
Yeah, and it's true. So we were both sick, but thinking about everybody,
We
and
missed you.
and couldn't wait to get back. So we have a very, very special show today.
Yes, our very first guest ever.
I know.
You guys, I'm the first.
You're the first.
Yes!
Isn't that as I know?
So honored. Wow.
No pressure.
Uh-huh.
Hayden, congratulations. You know, this is your peak.
Wow.
You know, I don't know how you go
No.
up from here.
I knew this was going to happen. Thank you.
Yeah.
I dreamed about this.
He said it's the intuition. But of course, in our quest to learn more and to kind of further ourselves here in the universe, Laura and I decided that we are going to talk about all things witch today, and not only kind of like a background on what it means to be a witch and what it means to have good intuition and be kind of one with the universe and all that stuff, but I think how can you take some of these skills and put it into your own life, into your own practice, and whatever that means, which I think is the nice thing about witchy stuff, is that it can mean so many different things for so many different people, no matter where you are on your spiritual journey.
It's such a complex and multiplicitous tradition.
So this is going to be, this is Witch 101.
Witch 101.
Witch 101.
Witch
Welcome
101
to class.
with the Renaissance Broads, yes. So
Class
we
is in
have,
session. We will accept payment in blood donations. I'm kidding.
In lieu of blood, as a vegan, I will accept wine. So that's fine too.
Totally fine. So I know that Laura and I are both interested in this. We both are aware of what our signs are, rising and moon, and our birth sign and our sun sign and all that stuff. But really, what does that mean for all of us? So I am a Capricorn, born at the end of December. This is why I have this take charge personality, 100%. So my rising sign is Capricorn, and I have a double Libra moon sign and rising.
I also have a Libra moon.
Look at that.
Wow. Small world.
That's why we're friends.
But no, honestly, I find I'm closest with other Pisces moons, weirdly. So I feel like, because you are speaking more so to like your inner person, and you can be truer to yourself and who you let into your circle when you're interacting with other people who share your moon sign.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense to me.
And so like there's a really beautiful metaphor that I like to use for sun, moon, and rising signs, where it's a Japanese what's the word for a cultural phrase, like a cultural saying,
Like a colloquialism?
That's
a
but like
fancy
it's
word.
more
Sure,
elevated.
we'll take it.
It's more like
Yes.
it's got a moral, it's got a lesson.
Like a fable or a parable?
Parable is getting closer, and I do not know what the word I'm looking for
Like
is.
Confucius says.
Yes.
I get
But
it.
yes. So it's an old, it's a Japanese saying is that everybody has three faces, and the first face is the face that everyone sees, and it's like your performative face. It's the one that you give to the world. And I would say that this is like your sun sign. That's how you might be in like a crowd setting, in like a general out to public. And then the second face is a face that you show your family, your close ones, your face when you're like at home and you're like off. I would consider that to be your moon sign. And then the third face is a really private face. It's one that you don't typically show that many people. Like you're like tight circle. And that's going to be your rising sign. And that's that part of yourself that like maybe isn't obvious to see at first, but it's there. Like it's foundational to your personality. And then we exist in these three layers of performance, at certain levels. And that's why I like using those three signs to help understand people, because if you find meaning in astrology and you love to relate to people that way, and you think it relates to you, and like it can help you to relate to other people when you're talking about the archetype of personalities. Lots of people love that. It's not just astrology that does that. It's I'm sure everyone could tell me their Myers-Briggs type. I know mine changes. I'm NTJ, but I and E is interchangeable. If they had Amba verted, then that would be me right there. So I'm an ANTJ. I am America's Next
And
Top
that is
J.
your Myers-Briggs. And what I love about that too is not only does it help you better to relate to others and understand others, but also yourself. And I think that's where my astrological journey started, was when I started digging a little more into the signs and their placements and what they meant. It helped me better understand who I am, how I react to certain things, why I react to certain things that way. And also that self-awareness helps me just be better overall.
Yes.
So when that Pisces moon kicks in, as it does, the messy bitch, I know I can tap into that and understand. Like,
what are your signs?
Virgo sun, Pisces moon.
Stop. I'm a Virgo.
Yay!
When is your birthday?
September 15th.
I'm the 16th. I can't. This feels very predestined.
It is.
This feels very fateful. Wow. Okay, what's up, Virgo? What's up, late Virgo? Wow. Wow, did we just become besties?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry, what's your
I'm
rising?
hyperventilating. What is my rising? I'm Sagittarius.
Stop! I'm so sorry. I screamed.
Rising?
Yes.
That's amazing.
This is wild. So we have 2 Libra moons and 2 Virgo Sun Sag risings.
I'm a Libra Mercury, so I'll jump in the Libra pool.
Wow, we have Libra. We have multiple Libra placements in this room.
It just means we're all really cute.
And so pretty and so balanced. So balanced, because
That's
sometimes
amazing.
when you have extreme crazy, you've got to balance that with extreme not crazy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I do love my Virgo sun with my Pisces moon. They do balance each other out very nicely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. When I was 8, I got obsessed with the horoscope section in the newspapers, and we went to like Barnes and Noble for trips. We would spend the day at Barnes and Noble, and just read whatever we wanted and eat a little bit from the cafe, and it was a great way to like bond with my dad. And he would be reading his business books, and I would be reading my astrology books.
That's
And
perfect.
I really delved into it, and I found a lot of meaning in that. I think especially when you talk about Virgos, you're talking about attention-oriented, detail people who have a high need for excellence. And that rang with me. Like, I would read all the other horoscope profiles and be like, is that for me? I was a very doubtful child. And I was like, no, this just isn't me, like I felt it. And honestly, with Virgos, there's a little bit of histrionicness as well. It's very like there's a neuroses in that. And I identified with that so hard. With Virgos?
Not at all. Not at all. Not here.
Also,
Not
some
me.
obliviousness. I'm pretty naive.
Yeah, that's to a T. I don't know a Virgo who doesn't have a great deal of anxiety.
I would say if we measured my wealth in terms of anxiety, I would be so rich.
Fucking billionaire.
Yeah.
Well, what a great segue then. Like, you talked a little bit about yourself as a little boy, Hayden. What has been your journey
Okay.
with
My
the
whole
magic
witch
and the witch
journey
world?
is that I was allowed to read and consume pretty much whatever I wanted to as a child.
Hayden's mom is a teacher.
Yes.
That's great.
And so she was always very big on access. So, I mean, obviously there were certain limitations, but like, it's not like my mom was like monitoring my reading. She was like, you want to read another book? Absolutely. Let's go get you some books, my friend. Yes. So I'm talking like wagons. I had special permission to check out more than 8 books at a time from the town library. And a lot of those books, I mean, almost every library has an occult section. And I would read those books. I'd be like 9 or 10, having to check out dictionaries so I could understand some of these advanced tomes, really. And then there's like that genre of magical literature, and then there's the genre of like post-80s new waves magical literature, where it's a bunch of people writing about their spiritual experiences, but it's not necessarily academic. And so like having a foot in both of those worlds from a young age really influenced me. But honestly, more than anything else, I was Mary Sueing myself right into some chosen one fiction. I'm talking some Harry Potter. I'm talking some Guardians of Gahul. I'm talking, and that narrative, I feel the chosen one type narrative, that resonates for a lot of people. And like, I made a Pokemon joke earlier, but I'm still playing Pokemon. I love a storyline where you see that kind of growth and the kind of achievement and concerns with like place and legacy and things. And I feel like at a young age, that's what I was tapping into. Now, I also 100% believed that I could make it cloudy when it was sunny. That was my magic. I was a storm witch. I just knew it at a young age. And I still might be a little convinced that I can turn the sun down. But that's what it comes down to is, when I was young, I was lonely a lot. And it was a way for me to feel more connected to everything. And that was because I had a tendency to self-isolate and to live in my own little world. So there was a short period of time in high school when I was a born-again Methodist. I was born into Methodism and then chose to be born again into it with my doubts. And a lot of the questions I had, what they gave me was pray about it. I don't know, pray about it. And I was like, okay. So I prayed about it. And guess who answered? It was Hecate. And that's a large part of what I do now is we call it deity work. And I'll go into it in a little bit down the road. But basically, for me, what was valuable about the religious experience that I got in Christianity was the feeling of connection to something higher, connection to the all, if you will, of feeling like a drop in the ocean, but on a spiritual level. Love that feeling. I still love a good hymn, all right? I may not be about the Amazing Grace, but I'm going to still sing it because I love the music. I love the feeling of spiritual elevation that you get when you are having a religious experience. And that feeling feels good. I love being open to being guided by something higher and not feeling like I am the absolute of everything. And I just really hate the bitter, jaded, closed-off feeling you get when you become an atheist and decide that everything sucks. And like, I'm not trying to make a blanket statement about atheists. I'm just saying that like that was my response to the philosophy, was that it made me feel very negative. And it was hard for me to find any positivity and hope in a belief system that said like nothing matters. However, it also gave me this absurdist, like, at the end of the day, what is real or what matters is subjective. And that means that life is whatever I choose to make of it, and whatever I believe is going to be true for me to a large extent. So that's about how my theory of magic works. And now I've been getting really into magic as like exploring what is witchcraft? What are the traditions behind witchcraft, and how can I honor my ancestral legacy while also being careful not to dishonor someone else's legacy? And those are the questions I'm interested in exploring. I love introducing newbies to witchcraft and to the witchier things because it's really not that scary. You know, the only reason we're called night witches or dark witches is because you just do it at night. It's you just do it in the dark. It's better in the dark. What can I say?
Yeah.
We're not that scary.
No.
It's not a scary time. Quick question for you. Where are you from?
I was born in Kansas.
Okay.
And I'm born in Wichita and spent some time in small town Kansas and Oklahoma as a young child. And then I moved to Greensboro shortly before middle school. And I was there for like 14 years. And now I live in Raleigh. I've been in Raleigh for 4 years now.
Yay. Okay, just curious because I was thinking about when you were talking about the occult section in your town library. I'm like, my town library did not have that. So I was like, where did you grow up where they had that for you?
There are ghosts in the plains, let me tell you.
Oh my
haunted.
God, yes. Like, what did we talk about? It was the episode we had you on with Hammered, and we're talking about, like, ghosts in the Midwest, and you brought up, like, the Trail of Tears, and I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty fucking haunted span of land there. So yeah, that makes
Pretty
perfect
fucked up chain of events. Oh, I'm sorry, do we swear in this?
We do.
We are
Okay.
allowed
Yes.
to, yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Me more so than anybody else. So, I had a second question. What was it?
Sorry, I talk a lot.
No, that's okay.
It's perfect, Hayden.
This is this is what podcasting's about. We'll circle back to my second question then. So, tell us about reading charts. So we know our big three, right? That's kind of like your blanket statement. It's like your elevator pitch, if you will, in astrology. For me,
I'm going to pull up a resource to show.
Please do.
So
Thank
I can
you.
answer this question.
When I'm building my chart, I ignore a lot of it. Houses for me. I'm just like,
Oh, yeah, totally. I have no idea
how
even what that
in-depth are we
means.
getting? Yeah, what are the houses?
Okay, so as someone who has spent many, many hours researching astrology and learning how to read charts and like also low-key learning a little bit of astronomy to understand astrology, here's what I can confidently tell you about houses and charts.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, bro.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, it's so freaking complicated.
yeah.
And there's a lot of pseudo-geometry involved, and that's because a lot of the practice came from early 19th century occultists who like also didn't really know, but they were working on these like partial translations of ancient works and other languages by other cultures, and they were like 1800s British white people, you know? So like they only understood a sliver of it to begin with, and then put their values on top of that.
So our house is kind of like the position in the sky. So it is kind of a combination of astrology and astronomy, where
Astrology uses astronomy because at the time they were the same science.
Sure.
And now things have changed, of course. But when we talk about houses, we are talking about a type of influence in your life that is determined by the geographical position of a planet in the sky at the time of your birth. And the birth chart is exactly that. It's just a snapshot of the planets and their geometric relationships in the sky when you were born.
So when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars.
Yes. Well, that's when you know that it's going to be the age of Aquarius.
Indeed. Yeah. Okay.
Oh boy.
Always ready for a musical theater
We can
joke.
quote some musical theater.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Not you two.
Ooh,
No
me.
way, not you.
Well, somebody's got to put this degree to use. So this is a resource I'd like to share. It's one of my favorite ones for understanding astrology. They have a lot of good explanations on it. And the thing about astrology is that for me, it feels like it's intentionally complex. And the point of that is to gatekeep people from actually getting to understand it. So that way you rely on someone else for your understanding of it. And that's fine. It's in the same way that, like, you know how biblical scholarship is like, you start to get a little too deep into it and you're like, you know what? I'd rather just hear a sermon, you know? Like, you start to really delve into all the craziness and, like, analyze the literature and you're like, this hurts my head to think about for too long. Astrology is the same way. And so I feel like people are always stressed about, like, I need to understand the houses and I need to understand what my placement is. And, like, why? Because I have my chart saved on my Gmail and I just pull it up when I have a question. That's the whole explanation. Yes, I did pay $100 to have this whole chart done. And then I made sure to take several copies of that and save it in many places. Because I would rather just reread the explanation again, honestly, and draw your own conclusions. But should you want a really awesome website, I've got astrologycircle.com, and you can waste hours on this website. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. They have like 20 different charts, and all you need to know is the precise birth information that you need. And I'm talking like down to your time of birth, your birth coordinates. And there's everything. They have everything. They have all sorts of crazy stuff. Dark astrology. They'll tell you where your fixed stars are. I didn't even know that was a thing until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's new to me.
Yeah, fixed stars are comets and other stars because again, it's ancient science, right? So they didn't know about certain heavenly bodies at the time, but like the fixed stars have like a huge influence on your life, and there are some that can like cause you doom, and some that can cause your chariot to break down, and and things like that.
Not my chariot.
Yeah, listen.
God damn it.
It's the third one this week. I'm gonna raise my insurance.
These chariots are expensive, man. Have you seen the price of the chariot wheels?
They're
Oh
just
man,
unreal.
I tried to get some cherrywood chariots, and unfortunately, it was too expensive because of the supply chain disruptions. So I had to go with oak.
Oh my God! And the cherry wood is so overfarmed right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's unreal.
It's unfortunately not being sustainably managed.
It's all going downhill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bamboo is the way to go. Super
Bamboo.
Sustainable.
Yes.
Yes.
Hemp, preferably
Yes.
some sort of like monster baby of bamboo hemp. Some hemp boo.
Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Where did this go?
Well, Hayden, you brought, to continue with Witch 101. See, it's the Capricorn in me that I'm just like, okay, let's go.
We do. We need that because I feel like the collection in this room. Oh my God, we're gonna be 3 hours later. And
So you brought some crystals.
I did.
And we're going to talk about what those mean, and maybe crystals that, like, you know, we need to get in our lives to kind of help with our own practices.
Yes, and so before I go into the crystals and what they are, I'd love to just give you my basics.
Yes.
Okay, so
I'm taking notes.
all right, so here's
the basics and
here
why.
is Hayden's basic theory of magic, and yes, this is copyrighted. So
TM.
Is there a book?
there I can't speak too much about it, but
Okay.
in the future, Hopefully someone will pay
Hayden's
$10
Theory
for my magic book.
TM.
$20, gosh darn it.
It's going to be $29.99.
You know what's funny is that my initials, my last initials could be TM. So like Hayden TM.
Yeah.
But would that be narcissistic in a bad way?
Not at all.
No.
Okay, I'm going to do it. Thank
I
you.
think it's clever.
Thank you.
Resourceful.
Thank you.
I got you.
This is the energy I need. Okay, 2022.
Yep.
So, let me just strip all of this down and go start from the basic. So I want to talk to you about the placebo effect, and specifically how the placebo effect can influence your pituitary gland. And I'm throwing out big science words. I promise you it's all pseudoscience, and I'm not a trained scientist. So here's how this goes, is that the placebo effect, essentially, I mean, most people know about it, but essentially it boils down to, if you were in a study, right, and let's say that they have this miracle new drug that will restore your youth, and in order to prove that this drug works, they need to prove that if they gave you a sugar pill, that it would not produce the same result, and that's called a control. And so they have this control, and it's usually the placebo. It makes you are told as a study participant that you are getting the magical youth restoring drug. But only half of the people, or whatever number of people, are getting the magical youth restoring drug, and the other are getting some sort of sugar pill. So what this study has shown us in the studies of the placebo effect is that many times the power of belief is enough to encourage certain physical effects in the body. And that got me thinking about, like, well, what is the nature of the relationship between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind? And so a lot of this boils down to, you know how, like, you don't have to breathe to breathe? You don't have to think about breathing or blinking or regulating your body temperature or growing your hair or things like that. That's all your subconscious mind, and it uses quite a bit of your brain power. Well, the way that I interpret the placebo effect, in addition with my earlier, like, you know, out of nonsense came my beliefs, right, is that you can use your subconscious mind to make physical effects on your conscious mind and your real body. So for instance, like, you don't consciously tell your pituitary gland to make the growth chemical, and you don't consciously tell your brain to start the processes for feeling fear. But at the end of the day, is emotion not just a chemical reaction in our body to external stimuli? So that being said, like, in the same way that an actor can create a real emotion, the physical effects of real emotion, tears, panic attacks, gasping, redness, flushed complexion, in the same way, magically, you can create a state of mind through conscious choice that connects you to your subconscious mind. And then if you do it with enough practice, your subconscious mind will start to give you physical results that can be measured. And that's the principle of magic. So again, if this sounds like hocus pocus and subjective mumbo jumbo, that is kind of is. And I would argue, like, is not all religion. So now, okay, so the pineal gland is the gland upon which all of this happens in our brain. And so, long story short, I'm not going to go into all the science about it because I can't explain it well enough to do it justice, but the pineal gland is responsible for a lot of functions that a lot of the other bigger glands use, and they can influence your life on a variety of physical ways. This pineal gland can. It can control how big your body grows. It can control your body temperature. It can control the speed and the quality at which you heal. It can control the distribution of spinal fluid in your body. It has lots and lots of functions, and you can see how these functions might have a fractal expanding effect on what you're doing. So that's how I think about it. Now, when we think about magic, there are three really important things. There is the intent that you want to use to cast a work, and there is the willpower, or the power of belief, and then the direction, which is to say that first and foremost, magic has a purpose, and you do magic for a reason. And in my case, it's mostly self-development and emotional and, like, soul type healing. and like learning how to manage my mental health a little better, because I didn't like when I was managing it with medication. And I found that through the power of, magic powered by the placebo effect, things are generally pretty good as far as managing my health goes. And that's because it is the answer to a type of healing that you cannot access without accessing that religious part of your brain. So the intent is like, what do I want this magic to do? Why am I doing this magic? You got to know, and you have to be very clear. You've got to be very clear, because magic works on the idea of the secret, the law of attraction, manifestation, is that what you want to come out, you believe comes back to you. And you just naturally gravitate towards that. So you have to believe, you have to know what you want, and it's got to be what you want. Because if you just want good things, then good things will come to you. That's great, right? But like, if you're going to sit down and do magic for an hour, it's probably not just because you want general good things to come your way. You're probably doing a job spell or a healing, or you're charging something, or you're just taking a little time to connect with your deity, whoever that may be. And like, but there's a reason you're doing it. And so in this way, it's very intuitive. It's very meditative. You need your will is like the power. So if your intent is the arrow itself, your will is how much you pull back on this drawstring. And the more you believe in it, the more powerful it becomes. And the more you believe in the possibility that the result you want will happen, the more the possibility becomes likely for you. And then the direction is just that, is where are you sending it? To what ends? You have to know what you want to come out of that. Again, you can do magic where it's like, I'm doing this with the intent of something good happening to me. I'm charging this with the belief that something good will happen to me, and I'm sending it out in the direction of something good coming back to me. And then that's very open, right? You're probably going to get results with that. And that's the safest type of magic to start with. Again, if this sounds like mumbo jumbo, that's because it largely is, right? But I believe it, and it works for me. So that's essentially all magic is. And so like things that help us get into it and help us believe it, that is the craft part. And I do mean craft when I say craft. So
and that's the crystals, the moon water, the storm water.
Making candles, making jewelry, making amulets, and talismans and crystals. So when you start to think about everything you're doing as programming, you're programming with the belief that the universe loves your programming. The universe lives in this constant state of chaos, but also like it wants to do what you want it to do, because you are the universe and the universe is you, right? And so we're trained to think that you can't do anything unless you do it through God. And that's the whole point of Christianity, is that you have no power because you're an evil sinner. And so you've got to use God. You've got to let God use you as an open channel through which God will give you what God feels is best for you. And that's brought many people much comfort over the years. Me personally, I found a little more agency in this approach. And there's no reason you can't approach Christianity in this way as well. So, now that we've gone over the pseudoscience and we've talked about how it works, I'm going to discuss brainwaves with you real quickly. Your brain operates on several different wavelengths, and they have Greek names, and they're very fancy. But basically, the whole point is that there's this one specific type of brainwave, and it's called alpha waves. This happens when you're taking a test, when you're studying, when there's something very intense that needs your concentration and focus, that like doesn't necessarily have a fun connotation to it. That's what you would use an alpha wave for. In magic, we call this gnosis, and that's spelled GNOSIS. And this is the mental state of elevation, of consciousness elevation that you must be at before you can do magic. A lot of people in Christianity would use prayer to achieve gnosis. And it is from there, when you are like in prayer with Jesus or whoever, right, is like that you feel that elevated state of being, and suddenly you feel like, oh my God, I'm not alone. Like I can feel Jesus's presence. That's gnosis. That's what we're talking about, right? That's the level of brain state that you're trying to go into. And from there, you can do magic. But it's not advisable to do magic from a lower brain state, because the whole point is to be more intentional and to really understand that what you're doing is your choice and it's part of your power. So there are lots of ways to get there. You can breathe. You can light incense. I find that engaging the senses is paramount importance to it. I love burning incense. The smoke is very comforting for me. The scent is, your sense of smell is so powerful, and it can really evoke immediate brain changes in your waves, right? Mm-hmm. People use essential oils. People like candles because flame and flickering is very meditative and puts you in a different brainwave. I use, they're called healing frequencies or solfeggios, and at like special numbers like 440 or 220, and I'll talk about numbers in a minute, but you can put them on YouTube. And they're a little jarring if you're using them for the first time, but the point is that playing a frequency that vibrates at the same mathematical frequency that the brainwave state that you want to achieve is resonating on will put your subconscious mind in that state, putting you in a place to do magic. And again, I'd be happy to show you some links to some YouTube channels and give you some resources for that, because so you literally just go to YouTube, look up Power Thoughts Meditation Club, or healing frequencies, and there's like hundreds and hundreds of videos, and they're all live streaming, and it's awesome. It's weird too. Anyway,
you can email those to Michael, and then he can have them plugged in at the end of the episode. So
bless. Yes. So moving on to crystals. Thank you for letting me get through this rather winded explanation.
But
yes.
I have to tell you how insightful that is.
Totally.
And how much more sense like witchcraft makes now, in terms of like that meditative state. Gnosis, it was like, that was so illuminating for me because I never realized that sensation had a name.
And you felt it.
Yes.
Yes.
So you're describing this, and I'm like, that's so cool. That has a name. So, and while you were describing it, I was remembering those moments I was in that state. And it's just so cool. I'm like, I have a name for that now. So I'm worried it's going to kind of ruin my practice in the future, because I'm just going to be excited. I'm like, Gnosis!
It's going to lead to more and more greater discoveries for you in your practice.
It's very exciting.
I love the like nuts and bolts kind of explanations of like, first you do this, and then you do this.
Yes.
I am a directions and a list girl.
Virgo,
love
Capricorn, Earth sign energy.
Love a checklist, love a go, and then I do this. And I've been taking notes, so.
Yes, I saw you're over here doing it. As far as numbers go, I love numerology. That's my personal favorite astrology type method. It's very, very fulfilling for me, because they literally, your whole life. I'm talking from birth to death. They've got it all. You have a very precise roadmap of what to expect with these numbers. Oh, wow. Very satisfying to a Virgo like me. But numbers have magical resonances and properties, right? So the number 1 is a masculine energy. It's all about masculinity and creativity. And a 1 is a leader. 1 is power, but like self-authority. It's new ideas. It's the energy to get things going. It's starting a new cycle. 2 is the balancing feminine energy. It's the mother, as opposed to 1, the father. And it's rather than planting the seed for the idea, it's birthing the idea, and all of the things that go with the divine feminine, and like what that role in creativity is. And it's nurturing, it's healing, it's gentle, it's very warm and soothing. And then 3 is like both of those energies together. And so 3 is like everything is just creative, and you're just like constantly throwing out creativity all the time, and you're just in that mode. 4 is building and stability, and you start to understand like, oh, there's like, I can see what I'd like the end of this cycle to look like. My vision is starting to take shape. I'm starting to build foundations. I'm starting to build the tower, so to speak, of like everything that I am and what I want to do and accomplish. And then 5 is what we call the critical situation, and that is the challenge. 5 is the test, if you will. And so you either pass or fail the test. There is no B- option. It's either or, and then you learn your lesson. So that's what 6 is. 6 is the lesson number. It's a big healing energy. And then 7, 8, and 9 go on to talk about moving on to like what it means to absorb that lesson, right? So 7 is a spiritual number in lots of traditions, and it has to do with enlightenment and being a teacher. 8 has to do with abundance and prosperity and understanding, like, wow, look at all the success that I have accomplished as I sat on that cycle. And 9 is the close of the cycle. 9 is like the end of everything. 0 is source. So it's connection to everything. It reinforces whatever numbers you have going on. And so, like, when you look at these numbers, you can interpret them as signs. You can look at your own birth chart by breaking down the numbers, and there are numbers in your name. And anyway, numerology is great, right? So, but numbers, that's why a lot of magic is done in 3s. This is considered a very creative number, in addition to being the number of the triple goddess and the Holy Trinity. So this is kind of sacrilegious, but Christianity is really not so different from witchcraft when you look at it the way I do. And personally, I think Christianity is a little violent. It's kind of gory in a really, like, aggressive masculine way, which is so sad because, like, and we're not here to talk about that, but, like, that's why I'm attracted to witchcraft, is because what I found was a very, like, comforting, mothering type of healing that I was lacking from my journey when I was a Christian, and looking to that for my spirituality. Oh yeah, this is delicious, by the way.
So in numerology, I guess, will that tie into, I find for me, I've never really been a numbers person until I found numbers being very repetitive and recurring for me. So, like, 1111, as cliched as it is, it follows me around. Also 1118. So will those kinds of meanings and understandings behind each of those digits, would that apply to kind of those repetitions that absolutely. I encounter throughout my day?
Yes, and there are what we call master numbers in numerology, and that's getting a little advanced, but 11 is one of them. And
11 and 12.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and it's like they have special resonance that is a combination of their individual numbers repeated, but they also have a whole nother significance. And 11 talks about being I'm an 11. It talks about being a teacher and one who seeks spiritual knowledge and here for a purpose. And that's why I feel so connected to numerology, is because I wanted to be here for a purpose. I didn't want to just have wanton nihilism. I wanted to, like, feel like there was something special going on, you know?
How do you find your number?
It's in the breakdown of your name and your birthday. And so I would encourage you to go to numerology.com. Has a great breakdown and weekly email lessons about this that make it very simple.
Ooh.
And they use celebrities to, I don't know why I love celebrities, but you read Brad Pitt's birth chart and they help you break the math, and so you can break down anyone's math like that. But long story short, you arrange everything on a grid, and each number has a predetermined numerical value, and then you add up all the consonants on the top of your name. There it is. And add up all the vowels on the bottom of your name. And if you want, you're welcome to plug in my information if you like. This is kind of on the astrology side of things. Numerology is so dope. Love it so much. And numbers are big in magic too. So let's do a life path number. Now, in some numerology websites, they don't recognize the master numbers. So 11, 22, and 33 are not recognized in every website. I encourage you to find one that would recognize it. I think it's more helpful. So month is September. Day is 16. Should I be letting my birthday out on the internet? You know what? It's fine. It's there already. And the year is 93. That's right. Youth is slowly slipping away from me. So here I am.
From the youngest person in the room.
I was like,
nice
I was
try, kiddo.
I was in college. How about that?
I mean, I was like 4 when you were born.
Age
so
is but a number. Age is but a number.
I could be Hayden's mother. So there we go.
Young mother.
Right.
A cool mother. She wanted to be able to play with the kids.
I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
That's right. Snacks. So you can see it's got my life path number up here. It gives you a brief description of what it's like. And obviously, like I said earlier, I was a big Mary Sue for Chosen One fiction, and you can imagine how being a 14-year-old discovering numerology for the first time on the internet in my busted laptop absolutely rocked my world to find out that I'm a chosen one. I'm a number 11, and I have a big purpose, and like I feel comfortable now with saying, like, hell yeah, I believe that. Absolutely. Who doesn't want to believe that they are here for a special reason and that no one else can do that thing that they can do? And I think thinking like that is so beautiful, because when you start to look at everybody as being here for doing something that only they can do, you really start to value the people around you more. Anyway.
No, that was really beautiful. I'm glad you paused, because I was like, I need a few more seconds to absorb that, because it makes perfect sense. On like a personal standpoint, it's that main character energy that I'm kind of seeing a blossoming of, which I think is so beautiful and poignant in itself. That's people around us finding value in themselves. Mm-hmm. But in so doing, they're finding that same value in others. And that gives me hope for the future.
Yes. And that's why
upcoming generations.
That's the whole point of magic, right? Is like having hope and having belief that you can do something about that hope, and making sure that there's more hope to go around.
So I have I'm sorry to bounce around.
No, please.
I was thinking about astrology again, and kind of an off question. I was born on a full moon.
I was born on a new moon. What is going on with this geometry?
Do you find that your relationship with your moon sign changes with what phase the moon is in at the time of your birth?
That's such an insightful question. I've never been quite asked that before. No, but only because when I'm thinking about the full moon and I'm going out, and I like to stare, I love a good full moon.
She's so pretty.
Recently, I asked somebody, I was like, what do you mean you didn't see the full moon? And they're like, I just don't look at the sky. And I was like,
what do you do with your life?
Honestly, the amount of sky that I look at has been dangerous for me before. And
oh my God, when you're driving and then she's just like gorgeous,
How
sitting
embarrassing
there.
is it to say that you narrowly avoided that deer because you were distracted by
I
the
was
moon?
looking at the moon. I'm
I know.
sorry, officer.
It's cooler
I
to
ran
say
that
I
stop
was trying to do a
sign.
TikTok, but I was looking at the moon.
Did you see the
what
moon?
Can I say? Yeah, and the officer's like, you know what? You're right. That is a good moon. Have a nice night. Yeah, that's the dream situation right there. We're gonna put that hope out there and hope it comes back. Okay. I got us on a huge tangent. I'm so sorry. Let me go over crystals.
Yes.
So let me talk to you because I brought a few crystals.
Yay.
So here's one of my personal favorite crystals, and I'm going to do the influencer thing and hope it works out. So this is a Shiva Lingam. It's got a really long name in its original language that I cannot pronounce, and feel it would be disrespectful if I tried to. So these stones come from the bottom of a sacred river in India, and they are washed smooth by the result of thousands of years of weathering because of the current. And you're welcome to touch. I don't let just anyone touch my crystals, by the way.
Of course.
That's not a hard and fast rule, but when you put so much of your energy into it, you want to be careful about who you let handle that stuff. So Shiva Lingam's properties, this is my very first crystal. It is connects you to source. It connects you to your higher power. You're welcome to touch, by the way, if you would like.
It feels a little intimate for me.
Sure.
I'll leave it, but she is beautiful.
Yes. So it's it connects you to your higher self, connects you to that source energy. For me, it's like a shortcut to gnosis, honestly. And I love having a nice heavy stone for meditation, for bigger work. I've owned maybe 6 of these, and I just keep giving them away. Not because I hate them, but because I know people, and I'm like, you could use this.
You believe in them so much.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? Even if you don't know what this stone does, and even if you never touch it again, like, it's yours now, and you can't change those effects, So I'm like, you need this. But it's a great starter crystal because it's very pleasant to look at, it's very pleasant to hold. Energetically, it's beautiful. When we interact with crystals, we are talking about, it's called an energy body. And if you're familiar with Reiki, you might be familiar with this term. Reiki aren't the only belief set to use the term energy body, but they are probably the most popular one. And I think one of the most beautifully simple explanations. I'm not a Reiki certified practitioner, but the energy body has to do with the extension of everything that you feel around you. It is no longer just your physical body. It is your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. It's your presence when you're in a room. There is an old Hindu concept called prana, which has to do with life energy and energy body and presence, and that's a vast oversimplification of that concept. And I learned it because of studying the Stanislavski acting technique. He was super into prana. And that is kind of how I came into that level of spirituality. And so, like, this is just, like, direct connection to the energy body. If you look at it, the energy body is actually supposed to be shaped like an egg. And this is also shaped like an egg. This is big 2 energy, that divine feminine, birthing, creative energy. Very gentle stone to start working with. You can find them at any crystal shop, and I promise you that they are reliably sourced. You are welcome to take as many pictures as you like. This is Carnelian. This has a very, like, fire energy to it. This is meant to be a stone of courage. Every time I go get a crystal, it's, again, with a purpose, right? And so you get these crystals because they are purported to have the properties that you are looking to either develop in yourself or add to your magic, or because for whatever reason you're just obsessed with them and you can't let them go. And so I got this when I was feeling really burnt out, and the best way I could describe it is that, like, my inner pilot light had gone out. And like in those old school ovens, you had to, like, get in the oven and you could die, and, like, it was dangerous. You had to turn on the gas and light the pilot light with, like, your match and stuff. And, like, your mom wouldn't let you do it because only adults were allowed to. Yeah, like, old school, right? So this was kind of that stone for me. And you, again, widely available, easy to find. This one cost me $20. If you are anywhere near the Raleigh-Durham vicinity and you're looking for an amazing place to go shop and ask your questions about witchcraft, I would highly encourage you to visit the Holy Rose on Wakefield
so glad
Avenue.
That's exactly where you were going.
Please tell
They're
them Hayden
wonderful.
sent you. Yeah, I literally just walk in and I say, I got to be honest, here's what I'm going through. What do you recommend? And they are so respectful. They have never once tried to be like, how about this $1,000 price item? It's always like, you know what I feel like you could use? Why don't you hold this and tell me how you feel? Why don't you? Here's what I'm intuiting. Anyway, cannot speak enough wonderful things about them. They're such a valuable resource to the community. Crystals are programs, essentially, is what we use them for. They're a meditation and a magical aid. And so I'm talking, like, program at the basis, like, computer level, right? Why do you write a program? You write it because you need it to do a function. And sometimes the program is simple. It's a simple script that you're putting in. Now, I'll speak binary. I don't speak computer language speak. But, again, a gross oversimplification of this principle that I'm using for magical purposes is that you can consider this crystal as a program. This program comes with certain properties that make it conducive to something you'd like to do. In my case, it was I wanted to reignite my vigor and my passion and my joie de vivre. I wanted to feel like a person again and not just a hollow shell. And so this is what I used in conjunction with some meditation techniques I've learned.
I will touch that one, please.
Yeah. Light that fire. Light that fire.
Yeah.
And when you imagine it, I want you to literally, like, imagine the flames coming from it and imagine, like, the flames lighting up inside of you. And that really gets my meditations kicked off if I need a little extra power. And when its energy body interacts with my energy body, it feels there's a specific kind of tingly, and it's hard to describe, but, like, it feels like fire tingles. And again, it feels great, and you can like feel it lighting up your body. So we use these properties, they're called, of crystals. And the best way to find them out is to open up Google and Google the name of the crystal and then healing properties or metaphysical properties. And so in this case, it'd be Carnelian, and that's Carnelian. And then I would usually do properties or healing properties, metaphysical properties, something like that. You can get all sorts of great information online. Just use your good source checking, you know?
Yeah.
And so the reason we use these is because we want to add a certain color to our magic. We want to add a little extra punch. If you were thinking about gaming, it would be an item that adds like 1.5. In Pokemon terms, it'd be a same type attack boost, right? So like adding this to your work gives it more power in that way. And that's what a crystal is for. And that's why I wear them. What I've got on right now, this is a very Kiernan creation. She is a local artist and influencer. Love her. This is just a clear quartz. That is all this is. And you can see this actually had ridges at one time, but I have worn it down so hard over time. I've actually decreased the size of the crystal because I have weathered it just from constant nervous handling. And all a quartz does is it just magnifies you. Just makes your energy body more intense.
True or false? Clear quartz can substitute for any crystal in a practice.
True.
Perfect.
True. It is considered colorless, and it's got zero energy. Is that like it just magnifies whatever you're working with.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have read that. I have clear quartz. I find it is kind of bless you.
Thank you.
A great kind of baseline, almost kind of beginner crystal. It doesn't do much for you until you put what you want into it.
I would encourage you to shift your perspective on that and think of it more like it does exactly what you ask it to do.
Oh, perfect.
No more and no less. And so, like, if you want it to do a lot, then it will, but it's clear quartz. It is like, it must be told specifically what to do. And this is why crystal people are crazy, right? We're crazy. Because you literally got to talk to these little bitches. You got to say, like, hello, my precious little clear quartz. How are you today? Good morning. Good morning. It's time to wake up. So I'm going to wear you today, and I'm wearing you, and I want you just to magnify me and make sure that I'm speaking clearly and I can be understood well and coming across okay and like not making things more confusing. And then the little crystal like vibrates and it's like, okay, boss. And you're like, all right, let's go. Or you can say like, good morning, little crystal. Like, I know I'm gonna have a stressful ass day at work with these bitches. So like, I want you to protect my energy. I don't want to feel a single energy, nothing from nobody today. I don't want to be fucked with today. And the crystal's gonna be like, okay, boss, I gotcha. And it's gonna give you that energy. But like, for instance, if you were trying to tackle a lot of fears and anxieties, maybe you'd pick up the Carnelian. If you knew you had a big test coming up, maybe you'd pick up the Shiva Lingam. So this is this kind of a vulnerable moment for me to put this out there. So this is a talisman. You can program them the same way you program crystals. The thing with talismans is that they have a pre-programmed cultural significance that basically they have this one purpose. Some people call this an evil eye. That's the street name for it. It's actually not the evil eye. It is the eye that's meant to repel the evil eye. What's the evil eye? The evil eye is this, like, you find it in a lot of Abrahamic cultures and a lot of, I should say, more broadly speaking, a lot of patriarchal traditions. You will find the evil eye in, and it's this sense that there's some big evil thing out there that just fucking hates you and wants you to fail and to be miserable. And so people will put this, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's called a Nazar, as best I think to pronounce it, Nazar. They always look like this. They are distinct because of the color pattern of blue and white and black. This looks like an eye. And basically, it reflects any negative intent that is directed your way. And the bigger and the thicker the Nazar, the stronger and more intense the reflection is. And so I use it to keep these crystals all together energetically and to keep them from being influenced by outside crystals. These are some of my favorite crystals that I have brought to share with you today. Also, some of my more expensive ones are in this one. So Aventurine, this is a company makes these and they sell them at crystal shops, and this was like $12, right? I'm a drugstore queen. I don't typically drop huge money on things. And so like Aventurine right here, you can find at pretty much any crystal shop. You can find it at Earthbound, I think, is where I got it.
Yes.
And they have beautiful crystal jewelry, and most of their jewels are legit. So Aventurine has to do with like journeying and stepping into confidence and power in a different way than the Carnelian is, which is sort of like an explosive confidence. This one is more like having the confidence to navigate, which I felt I needed at the time that I got it. This is Desert Rose. This is a stone of transformation, and it is, it's shiny, it's sand, it looks like a rose due to the natural geologic formations. If you're also just into cool rocks, crystals are definitely
It's kind of a cool rock.
Mm-hmm.
I use this to meditate, and I think of myself as a plant going through the cycle of a plant's life of like being planted and then germinating and sprouting and growing, and like it's meant to help you transform and to release all of the things about yourself that don't serve your higher purposes and your goals. So if like, for instance, I used it to rid myself of a specific annoying habit and managed to get rid of it with the aid of that for a concentration aid.
Can I ask what the habit was?
Yeah, it was saying, it has to do, I was born with a lisp,
Okay.
and so it has to do with correcting my lisp. So like I still have a little bit of it. It's a little harder to tell, but I used to lisp like this. I used to have a frontal lisp, and it was really hard for me to get back. And sometimes I still do it when I'm angry or a little intoxicated. So I might start frontal lisping soon now. But like it was so hard for me to get my tongue to understand what I wanted it to do, and the Desert Rose helped with that. But also the Desert Rose helped me with laziness, helped me with procrastination. It helped me with my addiction to nicotine, which actually coming up in March, I will be a year free
Yay!
of any nicotine whatsoever.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My voice is still recovering, so that's great.
Just to let y'all know, 15 minutes left.
Thank you.
All right.
And I've got this fun little crystal right here. This is a curse-breaking stone, and you just rub it, and you go away, bad energy. I don't want you. It's I forget the name, but it basically any black stone works for that purpose. If you're trying to guard yourself, just get a black one.
I do a lot of obsidian.
Yes, this is not obsidian. This is the smooth cousin of, this is tumbled, but it's also a smooth rock. The smooth cousin of obsidian, because obsidian is usually is more inky black.
Yeah, it's a very, very dense black.
Yes.
That's pretty.
This is a fun stone for its visual effect. They call it the TV stone for short. I want to say it's sodalite, but when it's about an inch thick, and at this thickness, light passes through the spectrum and can project an image under the stone on top of the stone. So you can see like your handwriting and stuff, but you do have to angle it so you're right on top of it. And it's best if you put right on the words. It's fun for scrying. It's fun for opening up your third eye and being able to see. We use the third eye to like see beyond. And this one is a very special piece, and I actually won't let you touch this one. But this one is called Moldavite, and it's actually on green quartz. So this was my most expensive piece. Moldavite is so hot right now because of TikTok. Moldavite comes from one meteor impact site in she was rolling. Europe, and now it's a national treasure. And when I got this was a $75 piece. Now this same quantity of Moldavite would probably run you like $200 on today's market price, but that's what I get for being a crystal hipster and on that trend a little early was discount.
That's wicked cool.
Yeah. And Moldavite I got because I wanted the power to smash. I wanted to smash my obstacles. I was done skirting around my obstacles. I was done like just sort of like letting my life run me. I wanted to just like Super Mario through that stuff, you know? And Moldavite is considered to be a very intense, powerful crystal, and a lot of people feel like they can't handle it too much because the energy is too much for them. It's one of those crystals that like makes believers out of non-believers, but also be warned that Moldavite is so expensive nowadays. Thanks, TikTok.
Thank you
Yeah.
for
So we don't
bringing your collection
run out
in.
of time.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably do.
Let's jump right into tarot.
Let's right into tarot.
Well,
We'll
I'm
have to
proceeding.
worry about these questions at another time.
Well, I'll come back for round 2. I didn't expect to talk so much. Thank
We
you
can
for
definitely,
indulging my narcissism.
you know, we're going through this, and I'm like, we're gonna need a part 2.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, and we'll have you back to like, you know, maybe talk about some things that we each do
I would love
and
to
how
give you
we have
homework.
implemented.
Yes.
Totally.
I would love to see what you end up doing with these ideas.
You know, I love an assignment.
Oh, yeah. We're great on that thing. So, again, because my whole aesthetic is sloppy witch, right, is I want to make it as simple as I can because I want to live spiritually. And I do love a good formal ritual, but for the most part, it's the same as cooking. Like, I'm just throwing spices on that bitch. I don't measure. I measure
Totally.
cooking? Absolutely not. Come on.
That's how I cook. That's not how Carolyn cooks.
I'll look at the
That's
recipe
definitely how I
once
cook.
and
It
say,
is
I
not.
need about
And
this much
but that's
flour,
okay.
and that's fine.
I respect the sloppy cook. I do.
It tastes good. Maybe it doesn't always look great, but it tastes good. So I do use a tarot app. I started with a Barnes & Noble basic Rider Thwaite deck. And if you're looking to start with a basic tarot deck, Rider Thwaite is the deck that you would like to start with. It is considered the classic deck. Barnes & Noble still sells that edition for like $14.99. It's a tiny little box. However, the cards I currently have 8 those cards. I stored them, their boxes on top of each other, and those cards broke out of the one box and then like disappeared some of my other cards. And I was like, I don't understand how this happened because I didn't do anything.
What a chaotic deck.
Well,
does
you'll
that
see why.
mean?
They're pretty scary. So this is my dictionary app. It's called Galaxy Tarot. If you are an Apple user, sucks to be you because you cannot use this app. But I'm sure they have other different dictionaries for you. If you are Android, Galaxy Tarot is free. I paid $1.99 for the full version to have a journal and stuff. I, in my Virgo-ness, do not like to miss anything. And so, like, there are those witches who are like, you have got to memorize it. If you're not memorized, what are you even doing? And I'm like, first of all, chill. And second of all,
Unrealistic.
yeah, unrealistic. I'm going to use my dictionary, by golly. And there are a few cards that I do know pretty well because I've been working with the tarot cards for 14 years now. And there are a lot of myths that abound about tarot decks, and there's a lot of hearsay about them. At the end of the day, what a tarot deck boils down to is you go into it thinking you're looking for answers, but actually all it's going to give you is more questions. The idea is to get clarity, not answers. And so the tarot deck is going to ask you to consider your question from another perspective or several other perspectives. So I came prepared today to do a quick 3-card reading for you. I'd love to do a more extensive reading for you at some time, but those do take quite a while for proper like 12-card readings where we could really get into some depth. That would take a while. So again, this is one of those things where what you're going to get out of a tarot card reading is exactly what you expect to get out of it. So I encourage you to keep things broad. Now, as a reader, I like to do things a certain way. I actually don't want to know what your question is, or even if you asked a question. I don't want you to talk during the reading, and I don't want you to fill me in on what's going on in your life during the reading until at such time as I say, and that's your reading, is usually how I end it. And the reason for that is because I really want to emphasize that I am just the channel for this tool. I am looking at these cards, I'm looking at their geometry, and I am interpreting what the cards have to say to you, the querent, the question asker, based on how those cards are arranged, based on how I understand the cards. So that being in mind, who's first?
Have Laura go first.
I was actually going to volunteer Michael.
Oh, look at that.
We
Mhm.
love.
He's got lots of stuff going on.
This is kind of bad because I was trying to figure out how to zoom in on the cards. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'd be
Just
happy
kidding,
to
then.
hold them up to display if you like.
How about Laura?
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine. It was just like, when
Working
have you
over here.
ever had a tarot reading done?
I've had one done before.
I love breaking in newbies.
By whom?
It was like an ATV thing.
Okay.
It was. I've got it on video too, somewhere.
So I would like you to shuffle these cards. And there is no wrong way to shuffle them. Let me tell you a little bit about this deck while you just kind of let these cards connect with your energy. Here's my directions for shuffling. I'd like you to shuffle them, and when you're done shuffling them, put them down in front of me. And that's it. While you shuffle, you can meditate on things that are going in your life. You can think in your mind or with your energy body. You can say, hey, cards, please don't rip me a new one. Thank you very
The
much.
card and the crystal voice is the same.
Yeah.
I do appreciate
Yeah.
Well, they have similar functions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can change the tarot card voice. The tarot cards are going to be like, I do what I want.
Oh, no.
So this deck is called the Necronomicon Deck. It is from Los Scarabeo, which does like higher end tarot decks. And it is based off of the works of H.P. Lovecraft, who is famous for having invented the phrase, it was a dark and stormy night. He was a big Penny Dreadful dime novel horror writer. Created such things as like the Leviathan or
Evil Dead.
Yeah, and Cthulhu. And Lovecraft Country is based off of his stories.
Necronomicon is the book of the Evil Dead.
Yes, it is the Necronomicon within the world of the H.P. Lovecraft universe is a book of dark magic. It is a book of shadows, which is like a witch's books of secrets. And I just kind of read mine out loud for you, so not so secret book of secrets. And the purpose of this deck of cards is to take whatever ugly monsters are hiding in your shadows, drag them out by the hair, and just curb stomp them until you have fully integrated your shadow and become a whole person.
Okay.
And sometimes they're gentle and sometimes they're not. I'm sorry in advance. So I'm going to ask you to cut the deck and just stack however you like.
Wait, what?
You're going to stack them however you like.
Oh, so just...
Mm-hmm. Just a bit of ritual and formality that I like to include with these readings. So I'm going to spread these for you. Yeah, look at that sloppy witch aesthetic. Nobody does it like me.
No, I feel it.
I would like you to select 3 cards. However you would like to select them is the way to select them. You're going to put them down facing you. Very important. The cards are facing you. And you're going to put past here. And I'll give you the other 2 prompts after you draw the card that is past. And now present. And future. Okay. I'm going to collect these. And again, I use my dictionary. I do not ever do a card reading without a dictionary. Sometimes for myself, I'll do a reading without a dictionary. But we're going to flip them over one by one for dramatic effect. All right, so your past is the 8 of Swords, and I actually have a super complicated relationship with this card.
Ooh, fun. Okay.
But it's not just the 8 of Swords, it's in reversed polarity. In some decks, the polarity, whether or not it is face up or face down, does not matter. That does matter in this deck. I do want to put a little asterisk, a little one of those disclaimers, and tell you that this deck is not intended to be read with the dictionary. I'm actually putting a dictionary on this deck because it's meant to be taken just by the imagery. So I'll be reading it both ways.
Okay.
That's my little caveat. Okay, so the 8 of Swords reversed. When you look at this card, I'll flip it face up for camera. And I don't know if that'll work because I have shaky hands. But what you see in the imagery of this card is that there is a monster, a giant cyclops-looking thing, and it's got a woman/girl trapped in some sort of jar, some sort of like I see you jar. And in the symbolism of this card, you are the girl in the jar trapped by the monster. But guess who is the monster? It's you. You're also the monster. And That's the whole point of this deck, right? Is you're welcome to touch and inspect, by the way.
Thank you.
So with the Eight of Swords, what we're talking about, when you draw a Swords card, you're talking about problems in the head, in your mind. In the past, there was like, you learned a really harsh lesson about your mindset and about like how much power you gave to your negative thoughts. And it wreaked absolute just havoc on your life. You learned a lesson about your personal power, but it was a hard lesson. Like, I get the sense that this was like you had to ask somebody for help about that. But you know what? It's about what you do after that hard lesson that you've been handed about your mental health. So let's talk about where the present is. Right now we've got the Seven of Chalices. When you draw a chalice, in some decks they're called the cups. The cups is the suit of water. It's the suit of emotions. And we talk about the emotional body when we draw a chalice. Now you see the symbolism is that this man's here and he's on his journey. He's at the 7 point of his journey, so things are wrapping up. He's exhausted. He just went through a really hard challenge, and now he's dreaming of things that will be and things that could have been, and very stuck in like fantasy land. And because their emotions are trapping them there in everything that could be, that they're just not making any progress on what is and what will be. And so it feels like the future's in limbo, but only because that's where your emotional body is trapped, and you can't move forward until you integrate that. So looking at the dictionary, it's asking you to examine that balance between imagination and reality. Is like, you got to recognize that there's a reason that the future may seem so... There's bleakness is what this card deals with, and it's talking about the response to perceived bleakness. Is like, it's either the future is only bleak, and it's like, I can't see anything good for myself coming in the future, so I'm going to take a time and nap here on this tree for a minute. Or the present is so bleak that I need to take the time out to daydream and feel better. And it speaks again to this sensation of being trapped in your mind, and like discovering that you're in the cage, but that you also you're the one holding the cage shut, and you're the cage, you know. And like, that's what sucks about magic, is that like there's no one else to blame. It's just you know.
That's why I goddamn hate shadow work.
Yes.
First of all,
yes,
I hate personal accountability, but go on.
Oh, I know. Oh my God, personal accountability.
And that's why these cards are like literally bending me over.
Yes, and like I said, this deck does have a tendency to just drag you out by your weave, and it's so unfortunate. Not that you have a weave, your hair is lovely.
I just put them back in, don't touch.
Okay, so here's what we've got moving forward is the Knave of Pentacles. So this card is interesting for a couple of reasons. So the Pentacles is the suit of the material. It's the suit of things that you can have and things that you can form. Specifically, your finances and your wealth, but also your career. Talks about the stability of your home, like your literal physical home, right? And so when you draw the page of any deck, you're in the court cards, and these all have personalities. So this is either an aspect of yourself or someone you will become. The Page of Pentacles, drawn in the reverse position, talks about like, it's a warning, right? And it's a warning that like, on the current way that you're heading, things are gonna, what's going on in here and in here is going to start manifesting in your physical sphere, and then everything's going to get fucked up. And it's just because there's something there that like needs to be addressed. And that's what these cards, the way I interpret these cards as telling you, is like, you know what the problem is, and you know how bad it is right now for you. But you also know what will happen in the future. And the cards are telling you in the future what's going to happen is that if you leave whatever this is unchecked, it's going to destroy you physically and financially. It'll undermine your stability, so to speak, and then you will have to start a whole new lesson in addition to repeating the current lesson you're already on, when you wouldn't have to have that lesson in the first place. And that's your reading.
Yay!
Okay.
Yeah. How did you feel about that? What's your initial response to this reading?
Very aligned.
Okay.
It makes perfect sense. And
It didn't sound like anything to say yay about.
well, no, it's kind of a yay because it is just putting my own accountability back into my own hands. You know, that second card, I forget the name of it. The 7
Of Chalices.
Yeah, that is exactly where I am right now. And just kind of like this fantasy world of like, God, it would be so nice if this, and I can daydream about this, and it feels so good to live in that, but that's where I'm at right now.
Have you ever listened to Abraham Hicks?
Nope.
Crazy, right? But amazing, life-changing if you really believe it, right? And so, like, it's good to dream. It's good to daydream. It's good to feel good from those daydreams. Mm-hmm. You got to take those good feelings and let them be good outside of you.
Yes. And I think I am kind of in that kind of transformative state where, like, I'm kind of tired of daydreaming now, and I'm making a lot of moves, I think. I feel like I've made a lot of improvements already this year alone, and I am, you know, holding myself accountable again. So that's, it makes perfect sense, and it feels really good. So
just remember that, like, that warning in the cards, right? It's meant to shake you into action.
Yes. And
the best way to take action on whatever this is, and I'd be happy to discuss that with you on, like, a private channel, but I don't want to put your issues on blast in public, right? Other than what the cards were reading, and I could be way off base, but, like, just think about this as, like, hey, it's not too late to turn it around.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it's not too late, but it will be soon. So don't procrastinate. You're almost going to miss your chance.
Okay.
Yay.
Yay!
So we'll do your past right here. So this is the Three of Chalices. What the Three of Chalices talks about is somebody being on a new journey. And the imagery that we have in the Three of Chalices, it's like this person is looks like they're being greeted by friends and, like, a community of people they know. But the thing is, like, this is the first time they're encountering this community. And so this person right here, this journeyman, he's, like, coming on this new group and meeting all these new people, and there's new opportunities, and there's all this excitement of becoming part of a new community. And this was in your past, right? It's like, here you are in this new community, somebody from totally outside, and it was the celebration to get there. So keeping that in mind, let's see where this narrative takes us into the present. This is the Two of Pentacles, and this is where you are now, according to the cards. The imagery is really dark. This guy's getting, like, shanked in a back alley for his 2 pentacles. Like, he is straight up getting, like, right? And so this is actually the dude that's being shanked is your productivity, and the dude that's shanking him is you. And that's, you see why these cards are so dark, right? And so this is, like, this has to do with the perception of imbalance in the material sphere is giving you imbalance in the emotional sphere, whereas before it was the other direction in the last reading, right? And so, like, that's where it is right now, is, like, the imbalance is really not there. And it just seems like it's there, but really it's more about what's bigger than the imbalance is the emotional response. And then we have Strength reversed. Also another warning. This is from the Major Arcana, and when we draw those cards, we're talking about major life lessons. And so in the future, you're going to have a lot of trouble with your personal strength. You're going to be up against a lot of obstacles. And if there's anything that you're dealing with now that you have not shaken, some sort of addiction or thing you're ashamed of, you can expect that to be your main source of discomfort and block from healing in the future. And you're going to have to deal with it, and the challenges will be because you haven't dealt with it. Strength is about taming the beast. It's this woman, and she's got a candle, and she's mesmerized this giant demon, and it's actually story-wise what happens after the 8 of swords that you drew, where she busts out of the containment spell and she uses the flame to tame the demon. It's quite literally a metaphor for shadow work. And so, like, the warning here is that, like, you're gonna let that wilder, less disciplined side drive you and your reactions. And it's not too late to turn it around, but boy, is it gonna be a struggle for you these next few months. And that's your reading.
Yay!
So I can't
Sometimes
do it
they're
all.
happy.
That's
But you I would consider that perhaps it's not
Okay.
wise to do it all at this time.
yeah.
Do some of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a no. It's just
Not
you
right
know,
now.
reel it in a little bit.
I would maybe wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's like a yellow light.
A cautionary
And
tale.
you can make your decision
Mm-hmm.
in those formative seconds.
Yes. Well, I'm sorry I got so far off track and talked so much. I just love the sound of my own voice.
I wouldn't say it was off track. I think it was totally on track, but it's definitely illuminating to how much is involved in this kind of craft. It's not just playing with crystals and you know, reading your horoscope every day.
Right, but but it
goes
is
so
also
deep.
that. You
Yeah.
know, it is also superficial and shallow, and that's great.
And that's fine too.
right, but it's also
A lot.
it's like cracking open your soul and revealing someone entirely new underneath who you always wanted to be.
And that is dependent entirely on where you are in your practice. And
And we
should
can
be-
revisit
Yeah.
and come
Yeah.
back and kind of do a check-in
Yeah,
again.
and I'm only just now starting to hatch out of my egg, you know, and it's the only time you're on is the time that you're on.
I think we can leave it at that. That was inspiring enough. Well, Hayden, thank you so much
Thank you so much for
for
having me.
sharing your wisdom and your insights and your cool toys also.
My pretty rocks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Hayden. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're going to
thanks for
come
having
back to
me.
this again and maybe talk about what Laura and I experience in our own journey.
Yes, and I will come back with tips on how you can get started and how you can fund your witchcraft entirely through Michael's.
Right.
Amen.
Oh, right. Cheers to that. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Renaissance Broads. It will not be a whole another month till we have another episode. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, beloved.
Blessed be.
Blessed be. Blessed be the fruit.
Bye.